Dr. Johnson, we're just so delighted to have you here to speak at our 2017 China Pan-African Conference here in Shanghai. I know you'll be doing quite a bit of traveling this weekend as you travel from the south of China, or the central part of China, I should say, up to Beijing. And I understand that last evening that there was some very spirited discussion, wonderful dinner, and people enjoyed their company with you and were enlightened. Certainly looking forward to this evening and continuing in that vein. Yellow is definitely the color of the moment here, as we've got the lovely Tiffany Bostic, who's going to come forward. She's had a wonderful performance, For Women by Nina Simone. And Tiffany, for those of us who've had a chance to hear you sing, you're quite the songstress. But what I'd like for your talent to speak for itself. You can please come forward. And if you care to say a few things about this piece and why it's significant to you, you're welcome to do that. But if you want to get right into your performance, feel free to do that as well. Please, Miss Tiffany Bostic.
Good evening, good evening. So lovely to see you all tonight. I prefer to just get right on into things, and I hope you all enjoy.
My arms are long, my hair is woolly, and my back is strong enough to take the pain inflicted again and again. What do they call me? Name is Sarah. 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 My skin is yellow. My hair is long. Between two worlds, I do belong. My father was rich and white. He forced my mother lay one night. What do they call me? Can I talk to you for a minute? I don't think I heard you. I said, can I talk to you for a minute? Yeah, right, that's a little better. My skin is tan. It's fine. My hips might invite you to my mouth like wine. Whose little girl am I? Well, anyone who has money to buy. What do they call me? My name is Sweet Thing. Sweet, 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 sweet thing. Ow.
began with sophistication, continued with tenacity. Though it felt like vanity, nature took its course. Of course, and apparently, civilization far triumphs idleness. Generation to generation, we modify toughness. It's a song of victory. We praise God unto our resentment. Acquainted with legitimate, segregation one torn us apart became our intrinsic philosophy. Logic is unacquainted in society. Common sense is not common periodically. Innovation crystallizes eloquence. Songs of opera from South Africa, South of Africa, US of A, United States of Africa. Monetary propagates famine in civilization. Skeptical combat of civilization. Prodigies, where are you? When civilization way. Okay, before I go, let me say a poetic goodbye. What can stop my mind from stopping what can stop my mind from stopping my heart from waving my hand to say to you guys, you've been a good audience, and I thank you.
How's it going, y'all? All right, another microphone coming up. Testing, testing, testing. Cool, yo. So today I'm gonna perform you guys one of my first, actually my debut song. It's called Solar Plexus. Means a lot to me, and it's kind of got a spiritual vibe to it. And also directed the video as well, so I'd like to include this visual component as well. Let's get it. Also, read the warning if anyone is sensitive to light. This is a wall.
And wheresoever beings exist, you don't have to remember the past.
Open your noses, I can show you Hotep. Explosive with this flow, I hope you can go step like Delta go. I fly in the rest of them, applied and I'm testing them. The lesson in theory in my section, brother, you think you just heckling. Talk my jive while these ladies speculate. Choosing off the spectacles, popping fine wine bottles with them at the vestibule. Generation, they be watching me. Conscious, how can I not be? Hey, contemplating on monopolies. Trust busting mug, best to give around me. Sonic daily, chaotic, you can't evade it. A dodgy, play it safe while I margin profits. Marginally prophetic, can you hear me better walking, talking? They told me not to walk in darkness, market for these black art. It's like the Harlem Renaissance, hardly I've been feeling what you're in my limitless Syrian core. Swiping your broad and have a sitting on Sicilian coffee. Sipping scissor until we lethargic. Read your palm and I can tell if it's on or not. Flip a card, strategizing, you can. Yeah. Yeah, tectonic shift in my conscious and atypical. Linear minds can never vibe with the cyclical. Visible, conflicted with this physical. Throwing my own party, but still staying apolitical. Sickle cell niggas brittle well. I chisel away from the superficial, seal superstitious to an extent. Knocking backwoods, skipping crack in the cement. As far as I can forget, never mind, can't remember shit. Render fictitious renditions of my remiss. Kicking my addictions like convictions. Born a Christian, stripped away my sin. Elevated to higher thought, a song chemic, getting ignorant with the wisdom vibe. Soul in my soul, I'm in raw tone. Thank you guys.
The occasion takes me back to June 1990 in Detroit, Michigan. It's my hometown. I was at Tiger Stadium that night. I had the opportunity to see one of the greatest world citizens address a packed house of Tiger Stadium that evening. Following rousing songs and great entertainment, very similar as we had tonight. The likes of Aretha Franklin and Stevie Wonder were there. This man, who had been jailed for 27 years, had walked into Tiger Stadium. He was a courageous man, all right? And he was going to share some of his story. This man had been silenced by his government because, you know, his words challenged the status quo. His activism threatened the core of an oppressive system of power. And his actions and affiliations were demanding action and fueling change in his country. I learned that his resolve and his spirit went undiminished over the years that he was in prison. I'm sure you all recognize the person whom I'm referring to. It's the former president of South Africa, the late Nelson Mandela. So why did I mention this? I'm glad you asked that question. I went to Tiger Stadium because my wife had mentioned to me, she says, if this great man is in our town, then I want to go see him and hear what he has to say. What she meant was this: I'm going to Tiger Stadium to hear his story. What his release meant to the end of apartheid, and to understand what messages of wisdom will he impart, and etc. Doesn't that sound like your mom, Tony? Sure does. Tone Perrion is my son, by the way, so I'm referring to his mom. Dr. Johnson, today is very special for all of us because we have the opportunity to hear from you with our natural ears and see you with our own eyes, our hearts, and our conscious minds. So we're in this place in 2017 to hear from you about the principles of Pan-Africanism. And I think that everyone's had a chance to certainly knows your bio. And I'd like to just bring you forward so that you can address this audience. And we really appreciate you, Dr. Johnson. And with that, I'd like for us to give Dr. Johnson a warm Shanghai welcome. And you can stand to your feet.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. It's an honor to be here tonight. My first visit to China, my first visit to Shanghai. I was in Japan last week. I was in Johannesburg a week ago, and in the Kingdom of Lesotho also a week ago. When I leave you guys, I'll go to Beijing, and then it's back to Brooklyn, New York City next June 2nd. The good brother mentioned Detroit, which is a very big town for Dr. Umar Johnson. I'll actually be in Detroit June 9th and 10th. We have a new organization known as the National Independent Black Parent Association. It's an organization that I founded in the United States a year ago. But tonight, I wear my other hat, and that is the hat of Pan-Africanism. I am former Minister of Education of the largest black organization in modern history, that founded by the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. And it's important that you study your Garvey history, and you study it well, particularly those of you who are from the African continent, because most of the freedom fighters of your countries were students of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Kwame Nkrumah, who went to college in my city, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lincoln University. Or Nnamdi Azikiwe, whose son I met when I went to Nigeria for the first time back in 2005. He also attended Lincoln University, both members of the Philadelphia Garvey movement. There's Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, and I just keynoted a Pan-African conference at Kenyatta University in Nairobi this past October. He also used to meet with the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey during his days back in the United Kingdom. But Marcus Garvey and Garveyism is probably the highest stage of what we call revolutionary Pan-African nationalism. Now, we have all kinds of Pan-Africanism today, because after the death of Marcus Garvey in 1940, a lot of us who could no longer stand on the strict principles of African people first begin to deviate from the original platform of Pan-Africanism. But it's important to understand that Garvey was not the first Pan-Africanist. He was the greatest, but he was not the first. In fact, nothing Marcus Garvey taught was original. Every aspect of Garvey's thought predated Garvey's birth. Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad, Marcus Garvey did not invent that. That comes from Martin Delany, a fellow Pennsylvania Pan-Africanist from Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, where I went to high school. He was the first to say, Africa for the Africans. Mr. Garvey borrowed Martin Delany's phrase and extended it. The Black Star Line steamships, Garvey wasn't the first to put ships on the water. That was done by multiple Pan-Africanists before Garvey. So why is he considered the father of Pan-Africanism when he's not the inventor of it? Because Marcus Garvey did the Pan-Africanism what Michael Jordan did to basketball. Marcus Garvey did the Pan-Africanism what Serena did to tennis. He did not invent it, he reinvented it. Prior to Marcus Garvey, Pan-Africanism was largely ideological, but it lacked a significant followership and an organizational infrastructure. After Garvey, that would be a thing of the past. So when we talk about Garveyism, and I'm a proud Garveyite, when we talk about revolutionary Pan-African nationalism, what exactly is that? And then how do we connect that to the current political, economic time of day of Africans across the world? Well, the first principle of Pan-African nationalism is all African people are members of one human family. All African people are members of one human family. So whether you are in South Africa speaking Xhosa, or whether you are in Nigeria speaking Yoruba, or whether you are in Kenya speaking Swahili, or whether you're in London, England, speaking the Queen's English, or if you're in Brazil with Portuguese, or back home in Philadelphia with me with Ebonics, or whether you're light skin or dark skin, or tan skin or yellow skin, whether your God is called Allah, or Jehovah, or Jesus, or Amin-Ra, or Nyame, or Chukwu, or Olodumare, one race. And so it's Pan-Africanist when we look out in the crowd. As I look out at you all today, I don't see Africans from Nigeria and Africans from South Africa and those of us from China and from America and Canada, the UK and Jamaica. All I see is family. And as Pan-Africanists, we identify on the level of being African first. Nothing is more critical to our Africanity. So we are never Christians who happen to be Africans. We Africans who happen to be Christians. We are never Muslims who happen to be Africans. We are Africans who happen to be Muslims. And if you want to understand, to begin to understand why African people are last in the political economic race for independence and power on this planet, it's because we are the only people. We are the only people, I don't care where you live, which continent, we are the only people who don't put race first. Chinese put Chinese first. European Jews put European Jews first. The Anglo-Saxons put the Anglo-Saxons first. The Arab put the Arab first. The Latino is going to put the Latino first. The Mexican will put his own first, and so will the Native American. And our problem is we put everybody first before ourselves. And our biggest problem is our religion is more important than who we are. And whenever what you believe is more important than who you are, you will always have problems. Whenever what you believe is more important than who you are, you will always have problems. You can stand 5 people up. Who are you? I'm a Chinese. Who are you? I'm Arab. Who are you? I'm a European Jew. Who are you? I'm an Italian. And you point to the black person. Who are you? I'm a child of God. Your identity has no roots in your political, economic, or cultural historiography. And that's why we lose. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said the greatest weapon used against African people is disorganization. We are not organized at all. That's right. Africa is not organized. Black America is not organized. The Black UK is not organized. We're not where we are because we're less intelligent. We're where we are because we are disorganized. The race that is the most organized will always control those who are the least organized. What's going on in the world today? The Second Cold War. The communists and the capitalists, but it's no longer America and Russia. Now it's America and China. And what are they fighting over? What are they fighting over? Africa and her resources. I was in Jamaica this past August where I keynoted the Marcus Garvey celebration in Ocho Rios. Chinese have just about colonized the whole island of Jamaica. The land of Marcus Garvey is almost no longer, in fact, controlled by African people. In South Africa, what's going on in South Africa? The South African government is letting Chinese and the Arab and the East Indian come in and buy up the land and the resources, and they're doing it so much that if something isn't done soon, within the next 75 years, black people might be a minority in South Africa. I was in Trinidad and Tobago about 2 years ago. In Trinidad and Tobago, we are no longer the majority population. In Trinidad and Tobago, the East Indian now outnumbers the African on a black island. Identity is critical. Identity determines behavior. Identity determines political outlook. Identity determines self-esteem. So we must first get back to identifying as African family and African family first. Nothing is more important than identity. That's the first rule of Pan-African nationalism. And I want to delineate between Pan-African nationalism and Pan-African socialism. This is important. This is important. Because the Pan-Africanism of a Marcus Garvey is not the Pan-Africanism of a W.E.B. Du Bois. And it's not necessarily in totality the Pan-Africanism of a Kwame Nkrumah. Pan-African nationalism versus socialism. We're in a communist country. Socialism says what? Socialism says that racism against African people is the result of capitalism. Socialists would argue that the reason why we had a slave trade, the reason why we had African colonialism, is because capitalism invented racism so it could exploit black people and black Africa for personal gain. Capitalism invented racism so that it could exploit black people and black Africa for personal gain. If we get rid of capitalism, racism will die with it. That is the argument of the socialists. Well, that is not the argument of the Pan-African nationalists. You can kill capitalism all day long and you will still get racism. You're living in a communist country right here, but there's racism against African people. You can go to Russia, that's a socialist state, it's still racism against black people. As Pan-African nationalists, we would say that racism against Africans is not the result of capitalism, it is the result of a need for white genetic survival. What does that mean? That means that the reason African people are subjugated by European power is because African people possess the biological technology to exterminate the Europe. When lynched in America, the Irish were never castrated. The European Jews were never castrated, but 95% of the time when they lynched a black man in America, he was castrated. Why him? The castration was symbolic, because the greatest fear has always been for European peoples genetic annihilation, not just contamination, but genetic annihilation by black folks. The black man is the only man on earth who reproduces himself in a woman of any other race. Some of you have children with Chinese women. That child is African. They're not half Chinese. They have Chinese roots, they have Chinese origin, they have a Chinese mother. They should know their history, they should know their origin, but biologically they're African because our DNA doesn't share, it takes over. There is no such thing as half. In order for there to be half, that means the Chinese DNA, the European DNA, the Irish DNA, the Jewish DNA must be just as potent as the African DNA. But according to every scientist on earth, the African chromosome predominates, so there is no half black. You got a situation with black folks in America. I'm Native American. But they don't understand that although you may be Native American, I have Native American blood, but the 5 major Native American tribes fought on the side of the Confederacy to preserve slavery. And all 5 of the Native American tribes, once they settled for their casinos and reservations with the United States government, all 5 of the major 5 Native American tribes wrote policy that said no African Americans could ever claim. No African Americans could ever claim any degree of the inheritance of any of the 5 major Native American tribes. Brothers and sisters in certain countries, what are you? And we will still identify, I'm French, I'm English, I'm Portuguese. Just like if you go to the UK, what are you? I'm British. Go to America, what are you? I'm an American. Identity is critical. Identity determines your economic behavior. That's another reason why black people don't control our economy. Do you realize we're the only people on earth that don't control a single economy in a single country? Name one if I'm wrong. Name one. You don't control the economy in South Africa. You don't control it in Ghana. You don't control it in Ethiopia. You don't control it in Jamaica. You don't control it in Haiti. You don't control it in the United States. You are in control nowhere. And you know what the shame is? It's not that you're not in control. It's you don't mind not having any. You don't mind not having any. Every other race on earth is in a competition to do what? Get as much political, economic power as they possibly can. The Chinese and the American white man lead that. They're at the front of the race. The Arab is doing his best. The East Indian is doing his best. The Mexican is doing his best. And where's the African? Somewhere praying, hoping God comes and solves his problems for him. And that's another big problem we got as African people. Nothing wrong with faith in God. But when you get so crippled in your religious thought that you start expecting God to solve problems that are clearly within your scope of responsibility, we have a problem. In America, you'll have black men and women pray to God for better schools for their children. We're going to pray to God for better schools for our children. But what about the fact that we spent $600 million on McDonald's last year? What about the fact we spent $2 billion on Air Jordans last year? What about the fact we spent $4 billion on liquor and alcohol last year? And what about the fact that black women in the United States alone spent $9 billion on weave and perm? If we add the weave and perm in the UK, and the weave and perm in Canada, and the weave and perm in the Caribbean, and the weave and perm right here in China, and the weave and perm in Africa, black women hair alone is a larger gross national product than half the countries on the African continent. We spend more on hair than many African continents have to spend all year long taking care of their people. So you're praying to God to give your child a better education. God can't answer that. Because one of the rules of prayer is what? One of the rules of prayer is God does not respond to requests that you've already been given the ability to solve yourselves. There's 4 constants wherever I go in the world. We're African people. There's 4 constants. There's only one continent left for me to go to, and that's Australia. But I'm willing to bet it's the same thing there. What are the 4 constants for African people? Because we think we're so diverse. But when it comes to oppression, we all on the same page. I've been everywhere. And you know what's ironic? Wherever I go, black people tell me, you've never been nowhere like this. First time I went to Amsterdam, you never been nowhere like this. First time in Jamaica, you never been nowhere like this. South America, you never been nowhere like this. Nigeria, you never been nowhere like this. Malawi, nowhere like this. Nah, it's all the same. We think we so diverse. And what are the 4 constants for African people? Number 1, you don't control no economics at all. Zilch. None. Name the country, and I'll name the non-African people who run it. And then they done brainwashed all African people in the post-colonial era into believing what? That democracy is going to solve your problems. If democracy could save Africa, it would be illegal. You can vote to the day you die. You better study black America. We've been voting for 150 years. Africa been voting for 60 years. It ain't changed nothing in black America. It ain't going to change nothing in black Africa, because the same people that's controlling your democracy are the same ones who control your resources. Democracy is a fraud. In South Africa, they're dealing with it right now. EFF, ANC, DA, who we want to lead South Africa. Don't none of them control no banks. ANC doesn't control a single bank. This is true for most African countries. If you control nothing, what good is winning? You're supposed to be voting for policy. But in Africa, you're only allowed to vote for personality. If I'm wrong, prove it. Democracy. So the European world has convinced us that the narrative that we need to follow is one over voting. Voting can save Africa. Is voting going to redistribute the wealth of South Africa back to its people? Is voting going to stop the land grab going on throughout the African continent? And even in African countries that say foreigners can't own land, they get around that, they just take out a 99-year lease. And when that expires, another 99-year lease. That ain't keeping nobody out. And then the other problem in the African world, whether it's Africa, Black America, the Caribbean, the UK, is we keep on selecting bourgeoisie leaders to lead us out. Africa, we got this belief, and when I say Africa, I'm talking about the African world because I'm a Pan-Africanist, so I'm talking everybody, ain't nobody different. We got this belief that the most educated of us, those of us who went to the white universities, are the most effective at solving our problems. I totally disagree with that as a psychologist. How can the person most trained by his oppressor? How can the person most socialized by his oppressor? How can the person most nurtured by his oppressor be the one most likely to lead you to liberation when he's the most enslaved of you all? Carter G. Woodson, Miseducation of the Negro, you should read it. Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black History Month, a friend of Marcus Garvey, said what? The college-educated Negro is seldom of any use to his race because the education he gets at the white university is an education that separates him away from the best interests of his own people. I mean, let's be honest. I have 6 college degrees. You have your degrees. The purpose of college for us as well. What is the purpose of college for African people? Because it doesn't guarantee you a job. It does not guarantee you a job. In the United States of America, we have over 2 million African Americans with master's and doctorate degrees unemployed today. In the UK, the numbers are not much better. In Toronto and Montreal, the numbers are not much better. So if college education is not bringing us economic opportunity, what's the purpose of it? Well, the first purpose is to put you in long-term debt to the European banks of the world. You're going to learn yourself right into debt. And y'all know what I'm talking about because everybody in here, most of us owe some student loan money. And we can't wait to go back and get another degree and get some more debt. Tell me I'm wrong. You go looking for a job, they tell you you ain't qualified enough. So you run back to the university and get another master's degree. You go back, take out another job application. They tell you you're still missing a couple credits. You go back and get your second master's. You go apply again, you're still short. You say, damn it, I'm going to get a doctorate and end it all. You get a doctorate, you come back now. Before they said you was underqualified, now you overqualified. What the hell is overqualified? They just make up words. Overqualified. If I want to sweep floors to keep the lights on in my daughter's house, who are you to tell me I can't because of my education? How about they wasn't going to hire you at all? They just simply ran you around hoping you would drop out and forget about it. Garvey said, any race of people that depends upon another sooner or later dies. Any race of people that depends upon another sooner or later dies. And speaking of that, the African continent is being suffocated by outside aid. Thirsty African leaders looking for more loans, grants, and handouts from the West. Thirsty. Caribbean, no different. We want more investors in Ghana. We want more investors in the Congo. We want more investors in the Gambia. Investment ain't nothing but another word for neocolonialism. That's all it is. And then they let the Chinese buy up the continent. They say, wait, don't be upset because the Chinese are going to hire you. Not true. Chinese show up in Africa with their own workers. Boat come right with them. Ain't hiring no black folks. If I'm going to vote in any election on the African continent, any election in Central South America, any election in the Caribbean, I got 3 questions for anybody running for office. 3 questions. I was in Lesotho. Their elections, I believe, is next week. So they interviewed me. Dr. Johnson, what do you think? Should we vote? Well, first of all, voting is only going to work if it's done systematically in groups. If black people are only going to vote their individual conscience, it'll never work because all progress is group-based. Teamwork makes changes, not individualistic Negroes with their own selfish agenda, which is a big problem of ours. We are least likely than any other group to subvert our personal agenda for the greater good of African people. We are the most selfish people on earth, which is ironic because culturally, we're the most collectivist. How did we get to be so selfish? Because whenever the white man catch a cold, you catch the flu. You love outdoing him better than he does him. That's right. You are the greatest imitator on earth. Black men marry outside their race more than every other man on earth put together as a percentage. How do you explain that, black man? I don't care where you live at. China, Canada, UK, Caribbean, New York, Houston, Detroit, Chicago. Black men love finding non-African wives. Especially the educated brothers. And then you make excuses. That's all that's around me. It's a damn lie. I've been around white women my whole life. I didn't catch love. You caught the love disease. And I was complaining that the brothers ain't marrying us. My goodness. I got my master's. I got to get me a white girl. It's a true story. In America, only 1 out of every 4 black women get married. And half of them who get married will be divorced within 3 years. 75% of them will be divorced within 5 years. I'm thinking about the black boy. If he don't see an example of a happy, healthy black family, he may not be motivated to create one. And then in America, they got a whole media war against the black family. And it's global, it ain't just American. Have any of you seen the Empire series? Y'all see Empire, right? I know y'all do. Lucius Lyon, Cookie, Andre, Hakeem, and Jamal, right? It looks like it's just entertainment, right? But let's look at it a little bit deeper. This is the #1 miniseries on television, which is significant because white people don't normally watch black people on TV. You're not of interest to them. But this is the #1 miniseries. You got 4 black males in leading roles. You got Lucius, narcissistic, power-hungry father. You got Cookie, hood rat mother. You got Hakeem, hyper-masculine, hypersexual hip-hop head. Don't like black women, uses them for sex, throw them away. Lucius can't stand his baby mom, don't trust women. Then you got Andre, bourgeoisie, Ivy League trained son, had a white wife. But last season he found a sister, hallelujah. And then you got Jamal, hyper-effeminate, homosexual black male. Here's my question. If you think Empire is all entertainment, is it just a coincidence that the #1 miniseries on American television doesn't have a single black man with a positive relationship with a black woman? Not one of those 4 has a positive relationship with a black woman on that show. There's no such thing as entertainment, it's propaganda. The television is the greatest propaganda device ever invented. You can change the thinking of millions of people with a 1-hour show. And then we invented BET, Black Extermination Television. And all people need to do is show 24 hours worth of twerking. A whole damn network for black folks, and it ain't nothing but sexual gyrations. Every rap song got 4 elements in it. I don't care who rapping, where they come from, what label they on. They all rapping about the same 5 things. #1, killing other black men. #2, sexually exploiting black women. #3, smoking all the weed we possibly can. #4, being happy to go to jail. And #5, buying everything expensive white people make. If I'm wrong, tell me. If it was up to me, Western white man would get an award for the greatest creation of all time. The greatest creation of all time. And do you know what the greatest creation of all time is? You, the Negro. You're the only organism living on God's earth. The only organism living on God's earth that works against his own best interest without being paid. The first law of survival, or the first law of human nature is what? Survival. The first law of human nature is survival. Study any animal in the jungle. The first thing he's trying to do is survive. Study any fish in the sea. The first thing he's trying to do is survive. Study any plant in the horticultural community. First thing the plant wants to do is reproduce itself. Black people, you're the only thing living on earth that does not want to produce, does not want to succeed, does not want to survive. You're content to exist. #2, second principle of Pan-Africanism is, as Africa goes, so goes the rest of the African world. This one is important, because some of us think if we move out of Africa and just do our thing in China, we move out of Africa and just do our thing in America, or black folks in America, black folks in the UK, black folks in Canada, the best thing we can do to help Africa is to take care of ourselves. That's the biggest lie I ever heard. That's the biggest lie. You want to know why black America, why our kids still being shot down like dogs in the street? Trayvon Martin and Freddie Gray and Sandra Bland and Philando Castile and Alton Sterling and little Tamir Rice. You know why? Why can they do that and get away with it? We got Chinese gangs in the United States. Oh, hell yeah, we got Chinese gangs. Right in my city of Philadelphia, we got Chinese gangs down in Chinatown, but they never get shot, killed by police. We got Jewish gangs, they never get shot and killed by police. We got Mexican gangs, they rarely get shot and killed by police. Black kids don't even have to be in no gang, just walking down the street with a hoodie on your head and get your life taken. Why is it that our children are the only ones who are systematically being exterminated? Same thing in the UK, same thing in Canada, same thing in South Africa. You know why? Because African people are the only people who are dumb enough to not understand that if you don't make Africa great, you'll never be great. The respect of a people is a direct reflection of the respect accorded to its international homeland. Now let's take Chinese. Chinese in Jamaica, never disrespected, mistreated. Chinese in London, not disrespected. I don't care where you go on the earth, you will find the Chinese in a respected position. Why? Because China's strong. And China not going to have that. China not going to have that. Let them start systematically killing Chinese kids in America. They're going to get a phone call right from here. I need to chill that out or we won't have problems. European Jews, same thing. They don't even do it to Arabs. And they at war with the Arabs, but they don't mess with the Arab children because they got nations strong enough to speak out for their best interests. African people are the only people who ain't got a single country to come to your aid. Something go wrong here in China against you, Chinese police start killing black folk, who gonna pick up that phone and call China? We ain't got no backing. As long as Africa weak, you will be weak. I don't care how many degrees you get. I don't care how many white women and Chinese women you marry. It ain't gonna change nothing. Nobody gonna ever forget you black, except you. They say Marcus Garvey led a Back to Africa movement. Marcus Garvey said everybody should go back to Africa. So not true. Garvey never led a Back to Africa movement. The media invented that. Garvey said, as I say today, only those who have something to contribute to Africa should go back. We don't need everybody going back to Africa. First of all, logistically, Africa couldn't even handle 50 million blacks from America showing up at the same time. Logistically. Now, psychologically and politically, you think I want to put every black person in America in a boat and drop it off from Ghana? You really think that's going to help Africa? A whole boat full of basketballs and weed, cell phones, video games, perm juice, gay black males, interracial families. Africa don't need that. She got enough problems of her own. We don't want to give her more. We're supposed to go to Africa to build her up, not tear her down. Could you imagine what that would look like? Fried chicken? We don't need that shit. I would already be back in Africa if I didn't have two daughters. I would have repatriated years ago, but got to raise the babies first. But I'm going back. I'm getting out of America. I've outgrown her. Got to do something significant for the motherland before we transition, because we only here for a century. Y'all do know that. Some of you think you're going to live forever, not thinking about how you're going to spend the next couple decades of your life. You get 1 century. And when you die, it's going to be a tombstone on that grave. It's going to have a birth date, which you know, a death date that none of us knows. And between your birth date and your death date, there's a dash. And that dash represented everything you did or didn't do in your life for the African race. What is your dash going to read? Went to college, got a job, got a yellow weave, and lived happily ever after. Went to college, got me a Chinese wife, and I chilled out. What are you doing to help the race? What you here for if you ain't going to make it better? Come on. And we ain't got to hate nobody to do this. We don't teach hate. But we are unapologetically African, and because we don't offer apologies for what we stand for, they teach hatred. Isn't it amazing that the people who've been the most victimized by racism are always accused of being racist? You can't be racist. You cannot be racist in China, because racism is not just attitude. Racism is not just personality. Racism is attitude and power, personality and power. In order to be racist, you got to have the ability to systematically disadvantage an entire group of people. You ain't got that. You don't control no institutions. How you going to be racist? Hell, you can't even be racist in Africa because you don't control the institutions there. If I could pick up the phone and call the African Union, I would tell them don't take another dollar out on a loan from nobody. There's two institutions you need to study if you want to understand why Africa ain't made more progress: the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The World Bank and the International Monetary. People say Africa the richest continent. Why are people so poor? Those people must be backwards. Or, you don't understand it. What happens is if I'm the president of an African country, I need some money, right, to build. I call up Donald Trump. T-Rump, I need $5 million. T-Rump will say, okay, come get this $5 million. But I want to let you know, before you take that check, we got 3 conditions, Nigeria, 3 conditions, South Africa, 3 conditions, Liberia and Tanzania. We got 3 conditions. Condition number 1, if you take that check, it's going to be 1,000% interest on it. We just want you to know that. Oh yes. Oh yes. The interest rate they put on loans to African nations, you can never pay it back. So the more you borrow, the worse the country gets. But African leadership hasn't come to that realization yet because they don't care. Because they'll be retiring in 4 years and that debt gets passed to you. What do they care about it? How are you going to pay off 1,000% interest when the money is already devalued? One of the reasons they killed Gaddafi, and I'm no fan of Gaddafi, I think Gaddafi was an opportunist, but he was about to do a good thing. The idea wasn't his, it came from sub-Saharan Africa, but he was the only head of state who could put it into practice. And they were going to build a Central African bank. Imagine that, a Central African bank with an African currency, a continental currency, tied to the resources under the soil. Now Africa is the most minerally rich continent on earth. Can't no country live without it. That's why America and China are fighting for it right now. If you create a continental currency for the continent, tied to the gold and the coltan and the oil and the gas and the silver, it'll be the richest currency on earth. You automatically crush the dollar. You automatically crush the pound. You automatically crush the yen. White man couldn't let that happen. That was instantaneous revolution. But Gaddafi didn't understand white supremacy. Because a couple years before they killed him, what did they do for Gaddafi? No. They dropped the charges against him for the Pan Am bombing. Remember? All these years we want to prosecute him. He shot that plane down. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we forgive Gaddafi. We're no longer pursuing charges in relation to the Pan Am bombing. We want to open up a new relationship with President Gaddafi. Gaddafi fell for that. That's how they get you. They soften you up, butter you up, you drop your guard, and they come and tomahawk you. And that's exactly what they did to him because he don't understand racism. And a lot of y'all don't understand it either. The rules of racism, white racism is different from other racisms. It's different from Chinese racism, it's different from Arab racism, white racism, the worst kind. And what is the first rule of white racism, my African brothers and sisters? The first rule of white racism is all white people are racist. Every last one, the one you're sleeping with, your boyfriend, your wife, your husband, your cousin, they all racist. Y'all shaking, you can't sit still because you was raised on a white Jesus. So how can you believe all white people are racist when you've been praying to one your whole life? Don't confuse politics with emotion. Don't confuse, when I say all white people are racist, you start jumping around. You know why? Because you think I'm saying all white people hate black people. That's not what I say. Your political education ain't right. I didn't say all white people hate black people. I said all white people are racist. What's the difference, Dr. Johnson? The difference is hate is emotion. Racism is power. It ain't got nothing to do with the other. That's right. You can have a beautiful personal relationship with white folks. You can have a beautiful personal relationship with white folks, but the relationship that exists between that group and ours is one based on oppression and privilege. And no white person is ever going to sacrifice the best interest of the group because of your personal relationship. And until you understand that, you ain't understood racism. We think white folks put black people in groups. I got me a doctorate. I'm special. I'm light-skinned. I'm special. I'm a Christian. I'm special. I got a white wife. I'm special. Go ask Bill Cosby how special his ass is. He made a whole career out of entertaining white folks. We from the same neighborhood in North Philly. And I feel sorry for what he's going through, but he didn't understand racism either. Bill Cosby thought, because they let me do this for so long, and they made me so rich, and I made them laugh for so long, I know I'm in it. And then he decides that he wants to buy one of the major networks on television in America, and they don't let black folks buy major networks. See, certain things you can't do as a black person in European context. You're not buying no airplanes, you're not buying no TV stations. I'm talking about the majors. Cosby said, nah, I'm buying me a station. First time he tried to buy a station and killed his son on the side of the road. Son got a flat tire, got outside the car to change the tire, boom, brains got blown out. He told you to leave that buying stations alone. He tried to do it again. Now they found 20 white women to all come forward and say he sexually harassed us 40 years ago. Now, I don't trivialize violence against women, because black women are the most likely to be victimized by sexual violence because slavery and colonialism sexually objectified the black woman. Slavery and colonialism sexually objectified the black woman. What do I mean by that, sisters, when I say you've been sexually objectified? You've been turned into a tool of pleasure only. Even here in China, right? Brothers will sex you down, but they won't marry you down. Because you've been turned into a tool of pleasure. And when I say that they sexually objectified the black woman, they sexually objectified everything about the black woman. From an African cultural framework, the only part of a woman's body that was meant for sexual intercourse was a vagina. But after racism and slavery, every orifice on your body could be sexually exploited for pleasure for a man. Your anus, your mouth, your ears, your nose, you name it. So when you walk down the street, they don't see a woman, they see an object. And unfortunately, black women participate in the sexual objectification of themselves. The dress code. I'm always talking to our mothers in the schools. I'm a principal. I say, what? Your daughter only 9. Why she got on a skirt that small? Why's her cleavage hanging out already? You're sexually objectifying your daughter. Don't do that. And then sometimes I got to get on y'all sisters, grown black women, because y'all say, I want respect, I'm a queen. But soon as that Rick Ross come on, you be the main one twerking to it. Make up your mind, that's a contradiction. Don't say you're entitled to respect, and I'm going to dance and shake my booty to music that disrespects me. You can't serve two masters. You will love one and hate the other, or hate the other and love the other. Contradictions, we got to work through them because black folks got a lot of contradictions. I'm not black, I'm just a child of God. You love that, don't you? That's all you hear in Africa. Stop it, my brother. We are all humans. Because you think by saying that the white man gonna forget you black. And the only reason why you don't want to be known as an African is because we're losing right now. If we was winning, you'd be proud of it. But because we're losing and you too lazy to work to make us better, you just want to opt out of the race, but you can't. The whole world ain't gonna let you opt out, not at all. All of us will wear the stigma. All of us will wear the stigma of being the underdeveloped peoples until we make ourselves what we need to be. It can change. Black people ain't, God didn't put you here to be this. But you got to know that in your heart. And you got to get out of the mindset that church didn't put you in, making you think that it's a blessing to be broke as hell. Religion. In America, we get a black church $14 million every Sunday. $14 million every week. And we ain't got no schools. $14 million every week. No hospital. $14 million every week. No manufacturing. $14 million every week. No supermarket. $14 million every Sunday in black America, and hardly any black banks. You in Detroit, my brother, the feds just shut down one of the oldest black banks in America out of Detroit. Africa, same thing. I'm riding down the street in Liberia. They got a street in Liberia for 10 miles, ain't nothing but churches. I'm in Ghana, we in Ghana. Y'all done took white Jesus to a whole nother level in Ghana. They got a statue of white Jesus that walk and move. We at the bus stop dancing a white Christ down the damn street. I said, this is crazy. In an all-black country. Leonardo da Vinci, homosexual European artist, was commissioned by the Pope to paint Jesus and the 12 disciples. Don't believe me, do your research. Before then, every picture of Christ on earth was an African. He's from the tribe of Judah, the bluest, blackest, purplest tribe you can find. That's right. Every coin, every statue, every painting of Jesus had him the color of the universe. And in 1482, 10 years before Columbus set sail, they changed the color of Christ, and then they went all around the world and found every Jesus they can find that was black, and either lock it up or destroy it, to change the image of your deity into that of your enemy. And what we fail to understand is when African children are raised with this idea of their savior being a Caucasian, when they become adults, such as you will continue to look to the Caucasian as savior. And then we want to blame white public school. White public school didn't put us in love with white folks. It was the black church that put us in love with white folks. So we all got to give something back to Africa. Every last one of y'all here in China, you got to be contributing something back to Africa. And not just donations. The problem with this African aid is that we want to give. Oprah Winfrey, right? Oprah Winfrey went to South Africa, built a school for the girls. She said, damn the boy. But she built one for the girls. And guess what? I ain't got no problem with Oprah school. It ain't Pan-Africanist. They don't teach no black consciousness. It's a bourgeoisie institution. But I still think it's better than having no school at all. But the question I got to ask you, why did Oprah build the school instead of giving them the wealth and the capital to do it themselves? If you give a man a fish, he eat for a day. You teach a man to fish, he eat for the rest of his life. They never teach Africa how to fish. They just want to keep on dumping stuff. We're going to send food. We're going to send health care. We're going to go build. The Chinese is building a school in Jamaica right now for black kids. Okay? We're going to build you a school. That does not help Africa. You don't come and do it for us. Put us in a position to do it for ourselves. So the first thing that the World Bank and the IMF do is they charge you 1,000% interest on the loan. What's the second problem with these loans that African heads of state keep on taking out? So first we got interest. First we got an interest rate. What's the second problem? Free market economy, the conditions of the economics. I'm the president of Ghana. I'm the president of the Congo. I'm the president of the Gambia. I'm the president of South Sudan. I grow tea in my country. I have a national tea market. I don't want nobody coming into my country selling tea because we make our own tea. And I don't want nobody selling tea because since we make our own tea, if I protect that market, I can make sure he got a job and he got a job and she got a job. I can make sure that I can have some control over my economy so nobody's selling tea. But Donald Trump going to say, I'm sorry, you want this loan? Then you got to have a free market economy. Free market. Do you know what they mean when they say we want free markets? That means we want the white man to be able to go wherever he wants and compete against your national tea market. So now Lipton is coming in with their tea, and Tetley is coming in with their tea, and Monsanto coming in with all the teas they selling under fictitious names. And what happens after 5 years of my African tea market competing with Lipton and Tetley and Monsanto and all these other teas? You know what they're going to do? They're going to run me out of business. Because I cannot manufacture, I cannot produce, I cannot package or market my tea as quickly and as effectively as they can because they have wealth and I don't. This is why you got African countries importing food they grow. Every last one of you living and come from an African country that's importing food that you grow. If we grow rice, why are we importing rice? If we grow tea, why are we importing tea? If we have our own chicken, why are we importing poultry from China and the UK and America when we have our own poultry market? Because that free market sabotage your native industries. That's why Africans are eating food from other countries that you should be growing yourself. And then the third condition of that money, you got interest, you got free market economies designed to bankrupt any nationalized industry, and the third one is just as dangerous as the first two. Mandatory birth control techniques. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Liberia, you want some more money? Well, you're going to have to make contraceptives available in high school and not just condoms because they might not use the condom. So we want you to put the Depo-Provera in a 16-year-old girl's arms in Africa. We want you to start a voluntary hysterectomy program and tell the women in your country that since they're so poor, they should not be having children. Why have a baby if you're going to be poor, African woman? That's not fair to the child. Let us tie your tubes up. I remember I was driving to the airport in South Africa. They had a big sign on the wall that said, free hysterectomy, $500 US. Do the research, paying South African women $500 to get their reproductive system taken out. When I was in Soweto a couple of weeks ago, every street corner in Soweto, 5 abortion stickers hanging up. Safe, affordable. Why do you think America, the UK, and France are always talking about population control? You hear it every day, don't you? Population, the world is growing so fast. If we don't stop soon, we will not be able to feed everyone. Planned Parenthood International. And who started Planned Parenthood? A white racist woman named Margaret Sanger, who used to work with Bill Gates' father. Bill Gates' father was the president of Planned Parenthood in Minnesota. Black Death. Planned Parenthood was originally called the Negro Project. Do your research. The Negro Project. They changed it to Planned Parenthood because calling it the Negro Project wasn't politically correct. And then a few decades ago, guess what? The United States government passed a law that said we can now go to Africa and bring Planned Parenthood to Africa, and now they call it Planned Parenthood International. Every African country who getting money got an abortion clinic. Some of them got multiples. And black women, after they get an abortion, suspiciously seem to be most likely of all women to never be able to get pregnant again. You think that's a coincidence? Fixing you up because the white man want a world to himself, and the only people on earth, this is why I respect the Chinese people. They the only country on the planet who don't give a damn what the American white man think. In Russia. But Russia's still white supremacist though. China, the problem for the American white man, well, they can't stand China. Because China won't do what they want them to do. China and Russia is blocking the white man's one world government, the New World Order. And don't get spooked out about the New World Order. All that means is we want to permanently institutionalize white supremacy globally. One banking system, one school system, one incarceration system, one global economy. That's all they want, to make sure nobody can operate outside of their control. Because the white supremacist is also a narcissist. The white supremacist is also a control freak. The white supremacist is also sociopathic. He will do anything he got to do to achieve his ends. If I got to invent Ebola, I'll do it. If I got to invent bird flu, I'll do it. They invented bird flu and brought it to China, hoping that that would destabilize the Chinese economy. The Chinese knew it though. They knew it. They tried it. Why is AIDS so prevalent on the African continent? Why is AIDS the #1 killer of black women on the face of the earth between 38 and 58? Isn't it ironic that a disease that you were told was for gay white males? When AIDS first came out in the early 80s, they said this was for gay white men. If you're not a gay white male, you don't have to think about no AIDS. Now here we are, 2017, it's the #1 killer of straight black women. It was always designed for you. AIDS was invented by the United States Army Biological Weapons Lab, Fort Detrick, Maryland. It's still there. That's where they make all the diseases at. A disease that selectively kills people with a high concentration of melanin in their skin. Why do you think Southern Africa got so much AIDS? Why does the Congo got so much AIDS? Is it a coincidence that all the AIDS just so happens to be in the places with the highest concentration of mineral wealth? Get yourself a good AIDS map and get yourself a good mineral resource map, and they line up 100% exactly. And then they tell you AIDS came from a monkey in the Congo. Ain't that something? I'll be damned. Congo is the richest piece of real estate on earth. There's no land on earth richer than that in the Congo. It's the richest on the planet. And it just so happened that's where the AIDS come from. And it came from a monkey. Now, there's only 2 ways to get AIDS. Blood contact, right? So they said somehow the AIDS got to an African woman in the Congolese jungle. So can I ask y'all a question? If the monkey gave a sister AIDS, there's only 2 ways she could have got it. She had some monkey burger. She ate the damn monkey. Or she slept with the damn monkey. And we all know both of those are ludicrous. Because we don't eat monkeys, most of us. And I know she didn't sleep with no monkey. But this is what they'll tell you today. If you don't believe me, do your research on AIDS. A monkey in the Congo. Somehow it got to the woman. We don't know how, but somehow the African woman came down with AIDS from a damn monkey. You believe that? Ebola, and they got more diseases coming out. They're not playing with us. They want to depopulate the world of African people, and they think they can do it. They think they can do it. And we so in love with white folks and white culture, we can even wake up and smell the coffee. I'm going to wrap this up. I got 7 minutes left before we do our Q&A. So principle number 1, we identify as African first. Principle number 2, as Africa goes, so goes the rest of us. Principle number 3, self-determination in all things. Self-determination in all things. What does that mean? Whatever is to be done for African people must be done by African people. Whatever is to be done for African people must be done by African people. Oh, they hate when I say this in America. Oh my God. They hate it. Why? Because everybody being paid by white folks. Black church being paid by white folks. NAACP being paid by white folks. Urban League, the black fraternities, black sororities. My definition of a black organization is not just an organization founded by blacks, ran by blacks, but it must also have a black agenda, and it must be exclusively funded by blacks. And when you add those 2 extra criteria, serve a black agenda, and financed by black folks, you have almost no black organizations in America. In fact, I would argue you have almost no black organizations in the world. The hand that pays is the hand that rules. But we so thirsty, we still trying to use the white man's money against the white man's power. What is to be done for us must be done by us. It's going to take us longer. It's going to be a harder fight, but it's the only way to do it. Some of y'all who follow me know I've been raising money to build the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. I've been offered money all through the years. White bankers, we can fund you. White philanthropists, I want to invest. No, you're not. Because you're not controlling my curriculum. I'm not teaching white Jesus. I'm not teaching Christopher Columbus. I'm not teaching gay sex. I'm not teaching none of that in this school. Take that back to Europe. They fund you to control you. Show me an organization funded by white folks who ain't controlled by them same white folks. Don't ever be so arrogant to think that you can take their money and not start changing your views. Once you get dependent on the white man's currency, you dependent on him. Get off his breast. We need funding. We need funding. We need funding. And that's why black folks is moving in quicksand. You ain't going nowhere because you're stuck in funding. 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 Why don't you do it yourself? In conclusion, 3 things we need to do to start fixing our situation. Number 1, we got to internationalize the African struggle. We got to start working together. And that's the last principle of Pan-Africanism I'm going to give you tonight. There's more, but for the sake of time, I can't go into it all. The last principle, we rise together or we don't rise at all. Oh yeah, you might can't stand Dr. Umar Johnson, but guess what? Unless I rise, you ain't either. That's right. That's right. Black America might not want to deal with Africa at all, but they will rise with Africa or they won't rise at all. The Caribbean might not want nothing to do with the blacks in Canada, but we will rise together or we don't rise at all. Oh yes. So I can't just ignore the fact that you're not participating in the struggle because I can't move without you. We lock together by an invisible spiritual cord that says we all float or we all drown. You better get used to it. First thing we need to do, we need to start a banking system. It can be a credit union. It can be a full-fledged bank. Y'all need to start your own little susus right here in China. You have to create a system where everyone in here can start their own business in China. You have to do it. You're not going to get the funding from the Chinese banks that you want, and even if you do, it's going to be so parasitic that you'll never pay off the interest. We got to fund institutions that we need. Every black community, in order to be called one, got to have a school, a supermarket, a bank, and a hospital. Until you got a school, a supermarket, a bank, and a hospital, it's not a community yet. Funding. What good is a black business if you're not putting a black business's money in a black bank? Everyone in here can have a black business thriving in China, but if all that money goes into a Chinese bank, it's benefiting the Chinese people more than it's benefiting you. And we ain't got nothing against the Chinese people, but we need to be investing the surplus income into Africa. We ain't got a penny to waste. So that's the first thing, banking institutions. The second thing is schools. You don't change nothing. You don't change nothing. Listen to me. You change nothing. You don't change the politics. You don't change the economy. You don't change black family. You don't change culture. You don't change mindset until you change the educational system. Until we give our children a revolutionary pan-Africanist educational system where they are taught the politics of power, we don't move. And that's why I'm building the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy to teach our boys power, how to get it, what it is, how to protect it. Principles to live for and a code to die by. We ain't been given that. We've been given Jesus and Muhammad our whole life. And the third thing we need to do is the black man got to rededicate himself to the black woman. Straight up, gentlemen. All of us in here who not married, we got to get married and we got to marry queens. For the brothers who ain't married to black women, y'all got to tell all the other brothers that they need to marry black women. It's the only way to service it. Black women are the most populated population on earth. There's more black women than any other human species. And if brothers keep going outside the race, there won't be enough of us for the queens. In America, we got some cities where the black woman outnumbers the black man as many as 30 to 1. Yes! I live in Philadelphia. It's 5 to 1. New York City is like 8 to 1. We got cities 30 to 1 because of police genocide and black-on-black crime and mass incarceration and homosexual lifestyle, reducing the numbers of black men for our sisters. But I'm hopeful. As I wrap up, I'm hopeful. Because I know we can win this. We can win. I know we've been down for a damn long time. 400 years is a long time to be under another man's foot. But I know we can come out from under it. Before there was a British Empire, the Germans dominated the Brits. The Brits was a second-grade people. Look at China. Go back 80 years. China ain't what she was today. When Mao Zedong went to Russia, Stalin wouldn't even shake his hand. He said he's so beneath me. But look at China now. And Mao wasn't no saint at all. But China wouldn't be where she is now without some of the things he put in place. Every race you see today on top was once a slave race yesterday. From the Chinese to the Brits. He who goes up must also go down, and he who goes down must also go up. And it's time for us to go back to where we used to be, because one time we ran this planet, and we didn't have to run it with guns. We ran it with culture and love, and we can do it again. But you can't do it trying to be something that you're not. You got to recommit and rededicate yourself to your Africanity. Unapologetically African. Love your nappy head. Love your big behind. Love everything about yourself. Love your children. Love black skin. Love the broad nose. You got to be unapologetically African. Because if you ain't unapologetically African, you ain't an African at all. And stop letting people tell you that we not African. Oh, that's not what we originally called. The continent was never, ever once called one thing. It was different names. Akibalan, Ta-Nesi. Africa was one of those things. The word Africa is a corruption of Afroika, which means birth of man. And Africa is 3 phonemes from the Egyptian phonological system, Afraka, which means from the soul of God. I close with a quote from our ancestor, Frederick Douglass, the greatest black leader in American history. He said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and deprecate agitation are like men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want the rain but can't stand the thunder or the lightning. They want the ocean, but they're scared of the awful roar of the water. He said the struggle we have might be moral or it might be physical, or it might be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. He said, for 20 years I prayed on my knees to God for freedom. For 20 years I prayed on my knees to God for freedom, but the good Lord gave me no freedom until I got up off my knees and started praying with my feet. He said, if you want respect, why do you look for pity? The man who respects you will never pity you. And the man who pities you can never respect you. Stolen from West Africa, most likely Nigeria. He was brought to Talbot County, Eastern Shore, Maryland. He married a black woman, my grandma Selah, for whom my 5-year-old daughter is named. In 1745, they had Grandma Jenny. In 1774, 2 years before Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence, Grandma Jenny gave birth to Grandma Betsy. Grandma Betsy was born into slavery, but she married a free black man, Grandpa Isaac. They had 12 children. One daughter was named Harriet, another daughter was named Betsy, my 5 times great-grandmother. These 2 sisters were raped by Aaron Anthony, the Irish man who owned our family. As a result of that rape in 1818, Aunt Harriet gave birth to Frederick Bailey. At the age of 20, Uncle Fred ran away from slavery and changed his name to hide his identity on the fugitive slave trail. So in 1838, Grandpop Stephen and George, father and son, fought side by side, the United States Colored Troops of Maryland. The Civil War is over. Grandpop George married Grandma Annie. They have Grandma Caroline. She moves to Philadelphia after the death of her parents. She has Grandma Vivian. Grandma Vivian marries a Spanish-speaking Cuban immigrant from Havana, my great-grandfather Cicero. They have my Grandma Mida, who's still living. She meets and marries James Johnson. And that's why my last name ain't Bailey, it's Johnson now. And they have my father Jamal, who marries Barbara. And on the anniversary of the Nat Turner War and the Haitian Revolution, I was born in Philadelphia. Marcus Garvey said, without confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. Marcus Garvey was once asked, are you an African or are you a Jamaican? Are you an African or are you a Jamaican? And in response to that, the leader of the largest black organization in modern history said, you ask me, am I an African or am I a Jamaican? And I say to you that I would never, ever give up a continent for an island. I am an African, yesterday, today, and for all time. Black power. First, that black men got to recognize, as do black women, that we were all psychologically victimized by white supremacy. And in that victimization, black men have been influenced to value other women more than their own. That's not the reason why everyone has a woman who's not African, but it's a big part of the puzzle. When people ask me why I'm against interracial marriage, it's real simple. Marriage is an economic institution, it's not emotional. Marriage is an economic institution and it's not emotional. Furthermore, women live longer than men. On average, in almost every culture, the women will live longer than men. Marriage is an investment into the race of your wife. If I marry a white woman, Chinese, Arab, East Indian, doesn't matter who. If she's not black, it's not acceptable. If I marry a non-African woman and I die at 70, she's not scheduled to die until she's about 85 or 90. Do you really think she's going to take some of my wealth, some of my estate, some of my retirement, some of my pension, and take it back to North Philadelphia and do something for the black people in my hometown? Of course not. When Michael Jordan dies, his white Cuban wife isn't going to do anything for the black people in Charlotte. When Charles Barkley dies, his white wife isn't going to do anything for the black folks back in Alabama. When Tate Diggs and James Earl Ray and Sidney Poitier and Cuba Gooding Jr., when all of those black men married to white women finally pass on, those women are not going to go back to their hometown and do something for black folks. So for me, it is a very serious form of racial betrayal to commit your life to someone other than an African woman, because in essence what you're doing is investing in her people instead of investing in your own. How can you take from us, who need all we can get, and give to someone else who already has enough? It's not about hating those other women. It's about being unapologetically committed to the black woman. I've never dated outside my race. I never will date outside my race. And for brothers who say, well, I can't find the type of African woman I'm looking for in China, or I can't find the type of African woman I'm looking for in America, or I can't find the type of African woman I'm looking for in Toronto, or Montreal, or London, or Birmingham, or Liverpool, then go back to Africa and find one. Go to Central and South America and find one. But there's no excuse for you not to have one, because there's more African women to pick from than anyone else. And to the sisters, I say, hold your head. Remember, no one beneath you can insult you, and no one your equal would even try. You got to know your worth, and you got to know who you are. Work on yourself, get your life together, and once you got everything in place, I guarantee you that your ancestors will send you the man that you need. Don't be pressed, don't be thirsty, don't be urgent, don't be desperate. Sit and wait, and the universe will bring you your mate. Ashe.
China, it's been a lot of, controversial debates in group chats on WeChat here in China. I want some advice on how can we talk about these subjects together without being counterproductive. because I want us to all come together, but then I find myself sometimes being counterproductive with my arguments by doing the same thing that I'm trying to go against as far as being disunited from my other black brothers and sisters, African brothers and sisters, everybody.
Where are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
North Carolina.
Where at?
Charlotte.
Good question. Couple things. Number one, we always need to come together and unite under principles of solidarity. Principles of solidarity. So that means we come together and everyone speaks freely on what they feel the principles of unity should be. It doesn't have to be, we don't all have to be the same religion. We don't all have to be the same political persuasion either. That's a big problem we have. Too many of us don't think we can get any work done unless we're all copycats of one another. That is a big weakness of ours. If you're not a Christian, I don't want to work with you. If you're not a Muslim, I don't want to work with you. If you're not in love with white folks, I don't want to work with you. If you don't hate white folks, I don't want to work with you. Are y'all following me? Diversity is not to be feared. Diversity is to be embraced. I'm glad that everyone in this room looks at the problem a little bit different so everyone's perspective can be brought to bear on the ultimate solution. We don't have to be robots and copycats. I don't care if none of you embrace the principles of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism. As I said before, I can't rise unless I take you with me. And you can't rise unless you take me with you. So it's principles of solidarity, number one. It's the consciousness of understanding we don't all have to agree on everything to work together. We have to agree on certain things. That's number two. Number three, when we come together, we should come together for a purpose greater than intellectual masturbation. Because too often when African people come together, even if it's for a purpose, it ends up disintegrating into a test of ideological egos. But that's because who's ever running the meeting, they have weak organizational instructional skill. That's why you got to have someone whose job is to silence anyone who start taking a conversation somewhere it don't belong. We came together today to talk about building a school for the African children in China. That's it. Every comment out your mouth better be about that school. You want to bring up weave. This ain't the night for that. Somebody else want to bring up the fact he married to a Chinese. This ain't the night for that. The purpose of tonight's meeting is the school. And as African people, because we always have so much to say, understandable. Because in most African communities globally, do you realize there's 196 countries in the world? There's 196 countries in the world. There's Africans in every last one of those 196 countries. But in almost none of the 196 countries do you have a forum, a regularly scheduled forum, where African people can come together and express how they feel to other Africans. So what happens is when Dr. Umar Johnson comes to China, everyone wants to speak, hypothetically. Even if it's off topic, hypothetically. Because we're so not used to having a space and time for ourselves that whenever a space is created for someone else, we take it over. Keep it focused on the principles. But then we got to check ourselves and make sure we are not so arrogant as to presume that we know what's in the best interest of everyone. People, when I travel around the country, they say, Dr. Umar, what should we do? There's certain strategies and recommendations and ideas. But it would be preposterous for me to show up in Africa and say, I'm here with the solutions. That would be very white manish. Do you understand? We have to create this solution collectively. Okay? So you have to keep on going, but you got to bring other people with you, because sometimes the issue is the body that's leading the effort isn't as diverse and representative as it needs to be. If you got bourgeoisies in China who are only about making $1 for themselves, nobody gonna rock with them. So the purpose may be perfect, but the personality may not be. Choose the right leadership. And make sure women are represented in that leadership as more than just secretaries.
Good evening, Dr. Johnson.
Good evening.
William Frazier here.
Peace and love.
Yeah, same to you, brother. You brought the issue about the school. You mentioned earlier that this is your first time coming to China, your first time coming to Shanghai. Now, I've been here for quite some time. Now, let me tell you about the black community in China, particularly in Shanghai and Beijing.
Give it to me straight, too. I don't want no political correctness.
No,
I want truth.
This is the only place that I can imagine on this earth that black people from different countries can actually come together with different thoughts, different ideas, based on their upbringing, based on their education, based on their contribution that they want to give to this world. Now, we have learned a lot of things here in China. Now, China is one of the fastest growing economies within the last 15 years that it took Europe, United States, and other countries to can't even compare it to, can't even match.
Right.
We understand that. We are studying Chinese, we understand the culture, the language, and how to do business here. I think it's important, seriously, Brother Johnson, that you tell somebody about the black community in China, because we are the ones that can make a significant difference when you talk about changing the black diaspora economic condition in the world. Because most of us are here from different parts of the world, and we have the resources and the knowledge and the ability to do it. We are the ones that should be going after these people, should be coming to us like you are, brother. I appreciate you coming here. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me respond to that. Let me respond to that briefly, because I'm glad you said it. And I was just speaking to Chelsea and Rihanna earlier. And I said, because you guys are in China, which is the strongest country on earth. You guys are in the manufacturing capital of the world. Black folks globally don't control no economy. Y'all in the manufacturing capital of the world. So what is the blueprint y'all need to be putting together that can be replicated across the planet for African communities globally? So for example, stay with me. On paper for me to take with me. You got that?
Get it to you.
Get it to you. But stay with me though. Let me finish this. Now you said that I want it before I leave too.
When you leave?
Tomorrow morning. I need it tonight. Email. Text my number. I'm gonna send you the email. But stay with me. For example, you might say, hey, we got a manufacturing plant in China that produces nothing but dollar store merchandise. Books, pens, plates, napkins. There's almost no black-owned dollar stores in the UK, Canada, the US, anywhere in the world. So on paper, I should see something that says, this is the factory, this is everything they sell. This is what it costs. This is how they take payment. These are the shipping companies that will take it to America. These are the shipping companies that will take it to Europe. These are the shipping companies that will take it to the Caribbean. This is what they pay. You should be able to give me a business plan for some business that can be directly supplied from China. And not just that, multiples. Multiples. Because I think you guys could be to black America what China is to the world. Y'all can be to black Africa what China is to the world. Y'all can be to the whole African diaspora what China is to the world. And that is a blueprint for how we can manufacture, or not manufacture, excuse me, import, okay, retail, and recoup funding in our own community. We don't have businesses. China makes everything. So it's your job to start creating the business structure on paper that I and other ambassadors of Pan-Africanism can take to the world. Only sharing with people who are serious. Because you don't need the white man getting it. Then he'll contact China and try to cut it off. Only sharing with people who are sincere so we can start building enterprise. That's your role. Y'all right here. Y'all right here. That's your role. Okay? So I'm here. I'm going to tell y'all like I tell everybody. Because every country I go to, black people love talking shit. Can I just keep it real? Every country I go, Doc, we got the plan. I never got the plan yet. Doc, look at that. If you're serious, I'm serious. Okay? All right. Let's make it pop. And that's for anybody here.
Can I piggyback on that really quick?
Sure.
I've been here for about 6 years, and the problem usually isn't finding the products. It's finding someone back at home who I trust to send it to and will handle their business there. So here, I can list 5 companies right now in my cell phone and send me emails daily about hair and all this other stuff, opening up.
I'm not selling no damn perm and weed.
Listen, to hell with what you want to sell. If they want to buy it, it ain't drugs. I'll sell all the hair you want. Because you ain't gonna never be able to tell a black woman what to do with her hair. But that's
principles. You got to have your
principles.
principles.
My point is, at home, and all these other countries, well, we don't have a black salon, or we don't have a black this and that. The merchandise is here, like seriously. You can get on Alibaba right now and find anything you want and have it shipped by tomorrow. My problem is finding someone there who will handle that end of the business. So what I would ask of you is that you have those people contact us and say, look, this is what we are able to do seriously. If Finding the product is the easiest thing you can do in this country.
Okay. What I would say, because I have nothing against you or anyone else needing to grow their own personal business. But I'm looking for something systematic that can benefit us as a people, not as individual entrepreneurs. You follow me? Madam C.J. Walker, everybody know her, right? She's the black woman that invented the straightening comb, right? She went to Marcus Garvey, they were good friends. And she said, Garvey, I want to advertise my perm and my straightening combs in your paper. And she used to donate heavily to the Garvey movement. Garvey said, absolutely not. I love you like a sister, you helped me grow my organization, but I will never ever advertise anything that is against who we're supposed to be as a people. I don't want no weaves and perms.
What if it's natural?
A natural weave? What the hell is that?
You know, we have the kinky curly things going on.
A natural damn weave.
But you
and see, the other thing too, what sisters need to understand, stay with me now. There has been a significant rise in the amount of fibroid tumors in black women and brain cancer. I know 6 women who had brain surgery the past year. You know why? Because the chemicals that they put in the perm and in the weave itself, okay, is toxic and it's going beneath the blood-brain barrier and it's becoming a carcinogen. It's causing cancer. And in many of the countries that manufacture this stuff, they don't even allow their women to wear that particular type of it because it's toxic. So we're literally killing ourselves to look white. And I'm not talking about you in per se, because it's not personality. You understand? You understand? But see, a brother wants to be able to grab your hair and feel it for what it is. Listen. And every brother here know what I'm talking about. If you ever date a sister with processed hair, it's a whole world to that hair. She can't even go to sleep right. She got to stand up and sleep. She got to sleep sideways. It's too hard to be with a woman with hair. You see, the other thing too, because I'm a barber, right? I'm a barber. I cut hair. I'm a barber. Okay? Scalp damage is another problem. Because when y'all perm too much, you get crater scalp. And then that's a problem too. Because now the brother dealing with a queen who got patches on her scalp. And that's another issue. Because then y'all want to hide it and you don't let the brother know that he married a sister with a crater in her head. So the first thing I want to see when I get married, I don't want to see her credit. I don't want to see her resume. I want to do a damn scalp check to make sure there ain't no damn blisters on that brain. I shake to the ancestors. Next question.
Dr. Johnson here from South Africa. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
We're at in South Africa.
Sorry?
We're at in South Africa.
Mamelodi, Pretoria.
Yes, sir.
So I'm from. But I have a question. You said that democracy is actually not the way for Africa. But I might have missed it. You didn't say what is the way. Like which current system would be applicable to Africa because of all the stuff that's going on right now.
One thing we got to share, and we're very careful about, and that is looking for something that pre-exists to solve our problem. We're a unique people with a unique history. And that economic system, that electoral system, that political system, it must be something that we create out of the collective consciousness of African people. It cannot be a cookie cutter. We can't go grab Karl Marx. We can't go grab American capitalism. You understand? We are the original inventors of the world. So we have to invent that which we need. Democracy is not the enemy, but it needs major reform. And until democracy is tied to the resources of Africa, it'll never benefit African people. South Africa don't need another election. South Africa needs the wealth of South Africa to be redistributed.
Agreed.
The Congo don't need an election. The Congo need the redistribution of resources. The number one thing African people need on the continent is redistribution of their own wealth. Because right now, the same people who created apartheid still dominates the material wealth of the country.
Okay. But I hear what you said, but the other problem that we also have as Africans is the trenches. Everybody who comes up and becomes a national leader has to have been in the trenches. So how...
You said they have or have not served?
They have served. Who?
Like you mean like Zuma having ANC?
He has to be in the trenches before he has
well, see, that's a problem too, because as black people, we have the Jesus Christ syndrome, where we love to worship saviors. You understand? The only reason why Nelson Mandela was able to be used against, and I'm not a Mandela hater. I honor the young Mandela. The old one was way off base. But I understand why. He had no business negotiating the terms of y'all freedom. You don't let somebody who's been away from the struggle for 27 years and is now a super elder come home and pick up where he left off. He's been gone for 27 years. I told them in Johannesburg the other week, I don't blame Mandela, I blame y'all. Why did the people of South Africa allow Nelson Mandela to dictate the terms of freedom by himself? That should have never happened. We got that Jesus complex and we got it real bad. We got to get out of this Eurocentric conceptualization of leadership where there's one man at the top who knows it all and everybody else supposed to take orders from him. That's not African. We collectivists. We don't need leaders. We need leadership. It should be a team. This whole room could be the leadership team. You kill me, it don't matter. You got to deal with him. You incarcerate him, it don't matter. You got to deal with her. There's so many heads on this body that killing us and incarcerating us don't benefit you because we don't have a Eurocentric conceptualization of leadership. The other problem is most of the leaders of Africa were trained by the West, groomed by the West, financed by the West. But again, that's the people's fault. Why does Africa, just like Black America, the whole world, all Africa, I don't care where you at, we keep on choosing bourgeoisies to lead us to freedom. The people who are the least interested in your freedom are the ones you put in charge and bring it to you. You know why black folks run for office in Africa? So they can prepare for life after office. They get in office, the broker deals, set up contract. They ain't thinking about the people. They ain't thinking about the people they work about they 4, 5, 10 years, and then once they're done, they live happily ever after, and so do their great-great-great-grandkids. You understand? Look at Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, Pan-Africanist, right? But guess what? His family is a part of the problem in the land redistribution in Kenya. Because they own so much of the good land, and even though the Kenyan Constitution say that foreigners can't own land, white folks are still finding a way to get in and own that land. The biggest contradiction of revolution is what? The people who fought it end up becoming just like the people they overthrew. The people, Zuma is just like the people he overthrew. You see? And until we deal with that contradiction, it's going to be difficult for us to bring liberation to Africa. And do you know why it is? Why do we become like the people we overthrew? Because the revolution wasn't mental. It was only social. And that's why I say we got to educate our children the right way. Because if you don't change the thinking, I don't care how many revolutions you have, the white man will stay in charge. And if you expel him, black people will go and get him and bring him back.
Two questions. One, where can we contribute to FDMG? Yeah, where can we do that? And number two, you were talking about recondition us. How do we recondition that white supremacist male off our shoulder and replace him with the voice of a Dr. Umar? When we walk into our house, what should be on in the background so that we can start replacing the background noise of the white supremacist with someone like you?
Okay. Well, first, to donate to the school, you can go online to GoFundMe.com. GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. If you want to mail a check or money order, text me and I'll give you the mailing address if you want to mail in a check or money order, but you can donate online. Now, your question about recreating an African mind, detoxifying from white supremacy. Number one, you got to commit to removing from your immediate environment anything that reinforces the white supremacy in your consciousness. That means the pictures on your house, the movies you watch, the music you listen to, the people you associate with. But even more importantly, y'all need to create some sort of structure in China for the African youth in China, which includes the biracial, because there's no such thing as biracial, you understand? But what are we doing for the youth here to make sure that they don't start developing an inferiority complex? Because although you guys are in a good position, it can be a detrimental one as well. Because your children can not only end up being victimized by white supremacy, they can be victimized by Chinese supremacy in terms of an inferiority complex from being the other child, the outsider. So what are we doing here to build affirmative African consciousness in the black children who are here? Because the best intervention is prevention. For the adults, it's difficult. Because once you disturb the mind, it's hard to free. Once the mind gets the virus, it's hard to take the virus out. But what I think y'all all need to start doing now is y'all need to start having study groups. Study groups is the best way to forge a collective consciousness. Remember, nobody's going to work with you if they don't know you. Nobody's going to work with you if they don't trust you. The same thing a brother talked about have somebody you can trust. In order to build that, you got to build familiarity. You got to build camaraderie. How often do all y'all in this room come together to talk about who we are and what we need to do? See, because if y'all don't have a bond, there's no way somebody can stand up and say, we're going to build a black school and I need everybody to contribute X amount of dollars a month. The first thing you're going to say is, I don't know him. How do I know he's going to spend the money on the school? You got to build that trust. That's why when you study revolution, any kind of revolution, including Mao's right here, they had study groups. I love study groups. You know why? Because it ain't just about the study. It's about studying how people think, studying who you can trust, finding out who's dedicated. Because none of us come to the table with the same level of commitment. You may be willing to go to jail, but you might not be willing to die. He may be willing to die. I might not be willing to do other, but I might feed you some information. I got to know who I can use for what purpose, and so do you all. See, YouTube killed the study group. Facebook killed the study group. Instagram killed the study group. We got to go back to study grouping again, because that's how we got to know each other. That's how we start building allegiance. In America now, there's no more study groups in America. YouTube killed it. Everybody want to stay home and watch the lectures on TV. But it ain't about watching them on TV. It's about getting to know the other people who study it too. You cannot dedicate 1 hour to black consciousness a month and think we're going to catch up. That's the problem. White folks are 100% of the time dedicated to white supremacy. Chinese are 100% of the time dedicated to building themselves. And black folks, we are all part-time revolutionaries. That's our problem. We got one Saturday to give, I got a Sunday to give, I got a Monday to give. You'll never catch up like that. The revolution is total, or it is not at all.
Good evening. Well, thank you for coming out here. Actually, my office is upstairs. If you guys need to take photos of the time and the light, you can come upstairs. I'll open that door. It's open to everyone. Okay. I also want to thank you for traveling all the way from the U.S. and different countries, coming to China, just because the buzz has gotten something with this community. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Hugh John. I actually own a SCS China TV, an online video program here, as well as lead and founded Black X, exactly what you're talking about. So we started in October. Chelsea was a speaker. We had, David was in South China. We have Tiffito, there was a singer. We have John Brown. We have a lot of different people here that are doing exactly what you're talking about. Now, what the problem is the fact that I have a hard time pushing what we're doing out to the Western media. Because what we're doing is fighting against the opposition of saying, from the US, China is bad. So therefore, all this propaganda, no one wants to look this way. So when you get here, you're like, there's black people in China? So what I'm looking to do is not empower me, it's to empower all of the successes that I found. I've toured over 8 cities in China. The largest event like this had 100 black people show up, just because of what you're saying is needed. However, the challenge is the gaps in industries, that because there's so many variations, there's so many combinations of talents that we don't even know how to put it together and be a superpower. So I offer Chinese classes. With John Brown, we have a hair seminar classes, teaching us how to be wholesalers, cutting out the middleman. We also have a lot of students here that are studying their PhD, giving them experience to what it's like to deal with the Chinese. I've been here 5 years, I speak fluent Chinese, I read Chinese, and I also access information and give it to the blacks. However, the challenge that I have is I can't do it by myself. Right. I'm looking for more leaders. So how can you tell to them that it isn't about me or the brand Black X, it's about you, and take this energy that we have and keep going when it gets, after you leave, it's going to be like, oh, okay, Dr. Umar Johnson's gone. How do we keep that fire? How do we keep it going?
Well, number one of the biggest challenges I see with black business, wherever we are, and I'm sure it's no different here, is that the different black business entities are not intimately connected, organized, or supportive of each other in an operational way. So the question becomes, when was the last time y'all had a strategic think tank session amongst all black business owners, or as many as you can get, to talk about how we can work together as a movement? Let me give you an example. She sells hair, hypothetical. Somebody goes and get their hair done from her. They get a coupon to go to him. He does real estate. they're going to get a certain percentage off of that real estate consultation. They're going to get another coupon to go to his restaurant. When they service his restaurant, they're going to get another coupon to go and see him for financial services. And then another coupon. So whenever any black business win, they all win. Because we are circulating the dollar ourselves. I don't see that nowhere. I don't see the organization amongst the black businesses, and part of the reason it's not there, because most of us don't come from a cultural framework. That's number one. It's Eurocentric capitalism as opposed to African collectivism. So that's number one. Most of us are about our own financial agenda, not looking at the greater good. It is the selfishness of the black entrepreneur that is keeping the black entrepreneur back. You know how the Koreans took over the hair care industry in black America? They took it over because when they got to black America, they saw that this barbershop was competing against that one. Not working together. This beauty salon was competing with that one. So the Koreans stood back and they said, these black folks are all separate from each other. This is the perfect opportunity for us to come in and be the suppliers for all of them. You see that? So the question is, we got to bring everyone together. But again, it got to be principles of solidarity. Okay? It can't be one man at the top, and it can't be that way no more. That's outdated. It got to be collectivist. Everyone on the same level. You have to start doing that.
Let me add, we're having Black Fashion Week this October in China, in Shanghai.
Okay.
That's a combination of industries.
Okay.
So we're going to be putting that out there.
Now that's the fashion week, but where's the black business meeting at? And I know y'all got the WeChat. I ain't talking about no WeChat. I'm talking about face-to-face meetings.
Kristen over there. You have Benjamin over there. There are people here that have businesses that are quiet. It's just the fact that as a media, my role is to put it out there. Okay. It's to let you know what they're doing.
Okay.
Because it's hard to finance with 1 billion Chinese people. It's hard to finance when people don't even know there's black people.
But y'all need to create the process and the protocol that makes it easy for people to find you. Last night I said that there needs to be a welcome manual, no matter how small, that every African gets when they get here. You understand? You can't catch them at the airport, but you want to see them on the street. Hey brother, how long you been in China? I just got here. I've been here 6 months. Has someone given you one of these yet? No, I didn't. I don't have it. You give them that. Every black business is in there who we can reach out to for support. The back page is all the meetings. Once a month, it's the business. Once a month, our study group. Once a month, the sister circle. Once a month, the brother circle. You understand?
Yep.
That's how you build the community. Because if I'm in China and another African walks up to me and gives me an orientation package just for black people, now I feel connected. Now I don't feel so lonely. You see? Y'all have to do that. Roll that out. Because we've been here long enough where we should have something like that in place.
Well, we have a Blackish directory, but we don't have like the welcome kit. But it's coming.
It needs to be done. Right. And it should not be done by one person.
Right.
It has to be a collectivist effort.
I agree.
Sure. My name is Rebecca from Ghana.
Ghana, I will be here this summer.
Okay. My question basically is this. Our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, in one of his articles when he was addressing his ministers, said, we should not forget the things that the white man has taught us because they are essential to our growth, what we can derive from it. I came here to study intercultural communication studies, and when I was studying that, in my research, talking to one professor, he told me that in many African countries, our problem is that our educational system is clerical. Meaning that no matter what we learn, it's still to benefit the white man's world and not to benefit the African man.
I agree.
But here you are talking about education and us building ourselves in that knowledge. So what steps are we supposed to take? Because as far as I'm concerned, every school you go to is basically the same thing. It is clerical and it does suit the Western world. We're studying nuclear energy and things that I personally believe we don't need right now. That we have our agricultural systems. We need to work on electricity, water, buildings, but we're not really focused on that. We're focused on things that's concerned with things like space and astronomy, and I don't agree with that. So what's your take on that? What kind of education system would benefit the African continent and the black man to help us rise?
Okay, I do agree when you say that a lot of the subjects that we give ourselves to study at the university are not relevant politically or economically to African development. Oh, that's very true. And it's your responsibility as a university student to make sure you choose something that is relevant. Because colleges are businesses. You understand? And every college, out of that 100 majors, only 15 might be relevant. So you have to be careful because they will love to give you a degree for something that means absolutely nothing. So it's your job to make sure you're majoring in something that's politically, economically relevant. Now, on the other hand, you named space. You named nuclear energy. You named astronomy. I'm going to have to beg to differ in that Africa does need to master those areas. One of the reasons Africa gets bullied by America in the UK is because she don't have a nuclear weapon. That's why you keep hearing about weapons of mass destruction. Because the white man wants to be the only man on the planet with the ability to wipe out other people. You understand? So he don't want nobody else having a nuclear weapon but himself. Africa needs a nuclear bomb so Africa can back other people up off. Let's be real. The white man took Africa through military technology. And the white man keeps Africa through military technology. So I don't care how much Africa develops economically and politically, she will always be owned by another race until Africa develops the same degree of military sophistication that the West has. So that nuclear energy, oh hell yeah, we need that in Africa.
That's true. Oh man, I'm trying to listen.
I need that fan off.
I'm trying to listen and think of my questions at the same time, and I've been following you for quite some time. My sister actually lived in Ghana for a couple of years, speaking to that, and she loved it. She fell in love with it. So I guess me and my wife was talking about wanting to go to live in Africa and actually go there one day. But what do we do? Like, we take our savings, we go there, and what do we start from there?
You mean on the continent?
On the continent.
It all depends where you go. Africa is very diverse. So for example, one of the things I'm going to be doing, because I'm working on a repatriation task force. So I'm going to take about 75 Africans from the West, USA, Canada, UK, Caribbean, Central South America, a group of 75. We're going to choose 2 countries. We're going to spend 90 days in one, 90 days in the other. People are going to be in charge of the economic team. They want to study every possible economic venture this country can benefit from. She's going to be on the medical team. She's going to study the medical sophistication, the hospitals, medical technology. What aren't the people getting in terms of treatment? He's on the educational team. He's studying the schools. She's on import-export. She's studying what we need to be bringing in input. Somebody else is on a religion team. What is the church teaching? How can we create a separate church or empower the church that's already there? So we want to study the systems, study all the systems, and from that study determine what it is we want to bring to Africa. Because it ain't about going to Africa to rape her. Too many black people go to Africa to rape her. They're just black capitalists. It's okay to benefit yourself as long as you're benefiting the continent too. You understand? So that answer is going to be contingent on where you are going. Some places, agriculture better. Other places, education is better. Other places, religion may be some investment, banking. It all depends on where you go. You understand? But that's something we're going to be working on, so we can talk about that, because I'm trying to make that happen within the next 12 months. We've raised $700,000 for the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. And I'm starting to significantly consider putting my school in Africa, okay? Because 700,000 US can go a long way on the African continent, okay? So I'm going to build a school, residential, but that's just the beginning. The school is just the catalyst for the Black Wall Street in Africa. Now we got a supermarket, now we got a bank, now we got a whole community of homes, we got our own gas station, we got our own everything, okay? That's what I'm looking at. Because there ain't no future for us in America. We're going to have to get up out of there.
My name is Abakari. I'm from West Africa.
What country?
Niger. We speak French in this part of Africa. And all what I'm seeing here are people that are coming from the south part of Africa that speak only English. And my concern is, what are you doing for your movement? Because I see you going to Ghana, you're going to Benin, you're going to South Africa. For this part of Africa that doesn't speak English. Because where I came from, we have Boko Haram, and they're killing people in my village because of miseducation. People didn't go to school to learn what is Boko Haram and what are you doing for this? And my other question is this one, because we have this French system killing us. The safer system is the money that most of the French-speaking countries in Africa are still using. The other part of Africa are not. And what can we do? What is, if you got a plan for us or for the people out there to do something about it?
Okay. First off, I've never been to your country, so I can't speak intelligently about it. Boko Haram, that's the CIA operation. Okay? That's the CIA.
But people doesn't know.
I understand.
We don't have the media.
I understand.
Like I learned more about Boko Haram and more about all this system when I came out to Africa. When I came to China and I learned about YouTube. We don't have all this system to learn. We want to have knowledge. We want to know about what's happening.
Right. Let me finish. I'm not Superman, so I don't have a program for every country. No, but I agree with what you're saying. I totally agree. I was in Paris about a year and a half ago speaking to the African community in Paris, Pan-African Conference. The brothers and sisters who are there, I told them, because they said exactly what you said. The Anglophone countries get all the attention, Francophone countries get ignored. I agree. I agree. Okay? The British Empire, larger than the French Empire. So there's more African countries that's English. But there's no justification for the Francophone countries to be excluded. I told them I want to do a tour of the Francophone countries. Because the only Francophone country I've been to was Senegal and maybe one other. Okay? So they never followed up. So I'm telling you, you and I can talk, let's learn more, and maybe we can put together a Francophone tour. I would love to do that. You understand? So we got to start somewhere. Okay, so get with me, let's talk about that.
What's up?
My name is Louis Capi. I come from Gabon,
yes,
also a Francophone country.
Yes, sir.
My question is about religion. Why black people doesn't want to get away about Christianity or Islam? Anytime I talk to my friend, we should go back to our roots, like to our ancestral religion. And I try to tell them, like, I'm going to be initiated in Bwiti, which is like a traditional religion in Gabon. Everybody get away from me. Like, you are not Christian, you are not Muslim. Why black people doesn't want to live this religion? And another one, I tried to date my sister, and she asked me, are you a Christian? I said no. Are you a Muslim? I said no. And she asked me why. I said, because I don't believe in that shit. The Christianity came in Africa, they killed and they murdered our mom. Before they raped our mom in Congo. How do you want me to believe in this shit? And they don't want to get away of this thing. Keep on putting money over there. Believe in somebody who come with a phone and say, he called God. The fuck is this kind of bullshit? Excuse me for the language.
Okay. I got 2 points on that. Many of the fathers of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism, including Marcus Garvey, were Christians. Why am I saying that? Because for me, the religion is not the enemy. It's the way the religious leader is interpreting it. I can lead a Pan-African revolution from the Bible. I can lead a Pan-African revolution from the Quran. It's not the book, it's not the religion, it's the pimp and the hustler and the opportunist who's leading that church, leading that mosque. Why was Marcus Garvey leader of the largest black organization of all time? Because Garvey never attacked religion. Garvey said if they want the church, let them have it. If they want the mosque, let them have it. This organization is for the bringing together of African people to build a reality for ourselves. It is not a religious organization. In other words, there's no conflict. Let them have their Jesus, let them have their Muhammad. But when they come here, we're coming together as African people, and we don't want to hear about religion when they walk in here. If you fight religion, you'll never win. Because our people are too religiously immature to understand what you're trying to say. Religions are very effective in teaching their adherents to reject anyone who criticizes what they believe in. I could never reach out people if I say I got to get you out of the church first. I can never reach out people if I say I got to get you out of the mosque first. One of the reasons I'm so successful, because I don't attack religion. You understand? I don't have to deal with religion at all. Why? Because if you raise the consciousness of African people effectively enough, if you raise the consciousness of African people significantly enough, they'll leave the church on their own. They don't need you to tell them. Your job is to raise the consciousness. They will question it on their own. Let me give you an example. In Philadelphia, I was Minister of Education for the Garvey movement, the whole Garvey movement. But I was also first vice president. We had a Marcus Garvey study group. The students from Temple University would come to the study group. And when we said race first, African people first, red, black, and green, they said, that's racist. I believe in all people, not just black people. Right? Some people try to force them to understand the importance of being African people first. I didn't. I understand psychology. You know what I said? I respect what you believe in. Just come and listen. Just come and hear. See, all you got to do is expose them to the truth. We're designed by nature to lean to the truth. All I did was expose them to the consciousness of Pan-Africanism. And guess what happened without me having to force it? One day they started walking in one by one. After 3 to 6 months, I'm ready to join. I'm ready to join. There's no compulsion in consciousness. Don't try to take their religion. Don't try to take nothing from them. Just expose them to the truth. And if you're doing a good job, they will come on their own. You attack the religion, you'll never get nowhere.
Hi, my name is Kristen Stanley. I'm actually from North Philly.
North Philly, where at?
17th and Oxford Street.
What?
Yeah.
8th and Susquehanna. Meek Millie, Jill Scott, Kevin Hart, Will Smith.
Right. And one of the things I wanted to do is in North Philly, long story short, Temple University has taken over that area. And I grew up there, and I'm working with my mother now and other people to actually buy property back in our neighborhoods.
You better hurry up, because Temple damn near own everything.
Right. And the same thing happens, this is my brother-in-law, we're also from D.C. D.C. is pretty much nothing there for us to buy back.
Yeah, ain't nothing left.
D.C. is almost pretty much gone. But Philly, there's a little bit of hope. Baltimore, there's a little bit of hope. I just want to know if you have any suggestions or advice for anybody who actually want to buy back the block, as they say.
Baltimore, perfect. Get to it before the white folks get there. Philly, done. But you might get a little bit, like you said. D.C., nothing. Baltimore would be perfect. White folks ain't took Baltimore back yet, but you better hurry up. There's a move in America to take back all the major cities from black people. Any major city, black people being pushed out. Chicago. And by the way, the killings that y'all hear about in Chicago, I have significant suspicion and reason to believe, and there is evidence, that it's not black people killing black people in Chicago. Okay, it's police killing black people. And I also believe that the United States government has a mercenary army in Chicago purging Chicago of black folks. I'm in Chicago more than any other city except New York. There's cameras on every street block in Chicago. It's no way in hell I could kill another black man and it not be on camera. The whole city under surveillance. There's no way you can have hundreds of unsolved murders unless the government doing the killing. It's going to come out 50 years from now. The government killing black folks. Those Purge movies, it's the truth. And that's exactly what they're doing, purging black folks. All right, one last thing. If any of y'all have children, I have a Black College and Consciousness tour that I run every summer. This summer is going to be June 28th to July the 12th. 2 weeks, 14 days, 14 nights. Any of the African Chinese children can come. They're still African. We take them to Harriet Tubman gravesite and house, Frederick Douglass House, the Nat Turner Trail. We go to Lincoln University, Cheney University, Howard University, Coppin State. These are all black colleges founded by ancestors during slavery. And right after, we take them to Dorney Park, Great Adventures, the Benjamin Banneker House, the Underground Railroad. It's a very, very fun experience. They learn a lot. If you have children and you want them to come, get in contact with me. You fly them to America, myself or one of my representatives will get your child from the airport. They'll go on a tour and we'll get them back on a plane and they fly right back on to China. I just want to let y'all know that that's an option for y'all.
and lively and honest conversation that we had, and we really appreciate all of you coming tonight. All right, and then also we have Jaza, Trevor, and Diana Bertrams. Part of the staff and the literals there. Great. The performers, Tiffany Tone actually had to leave, and our friend Victor, thank you so much. Hype photography, he's right here in the middle. He's filming everything. In the back, we have Jordan with YS Security. Thank you so much for providing security for us. To my Chinese friend Xiao Gong, and also one of my students, Xiao Gong has been instrumental in this and helping us pick the venue, pick the restaurant, and a lot of these things have been, able without him. So thank you, Mr. Anthony Whittle, who gave such a riveting introduction for Dr. Umar and has been instrumental in the play. We really thank you for all of your time. El Popo Magazine and Rihanna, my right-hand man or woman, and we actually have never met until this event, and we were connected through WeChat, and we planned this entire thing, but I would like to give a special shout out to Rihanna. Without her, she booked tickets, she escorted Dr. Umar around, and she really is the mastermind for bringing him to China. She even coordinated with the Japanese team Japan team to bring him to China. So thank you. And I want to just stop you right there. And obviously to the lovely and gracious host, Chelsea, because there's no way I wouldn't have been able to have an event in Shanghai without her tremendous contribution and support. So we co-hosted this together, and I appreciate you so much. I know we're sisters for life. First time meeting you, but yes. And last, certainly not least, we all here, of course, thank Dr. Umar Johnson for coming all the way across those miles, across the ocean, to come here and give us a word. Same thing, this is the first time he and I have met. Everything that we communicated as far as planning mostly happened through WhatsApp. So he's genuine when he says, hit him up. You have an idea, talk with him. He will hear you out. And so we just want to thank you so much for coming all this way, and we hope that it was certainly worth your time. It was worth ours.
I'm sure I'll be back, but just to let you guys know, I probably will be back in Japan. They have a African celebration in Japan in August, so I'll definitely be back this way, August. But since I've been here, I've been contacted by South Korea and I think Vietnam, black folks there who want me to come too. So I guess Asia will probably be a regular annual thing, like South Africa is a regular annual thing. So we can make this a regular annual thing, or it could be more than annual. But a couple things I want to do next time I see you guys. Number one, I want to do my For Sisters Only seminar, just for the ladies. I want to do my Brothers Only seminar. I want to do something for the African children here, those who are from 8 to say 18. Something on culture, something that's positive, reaffirming. Because being in a context where you are not the majority, that can have detrimental effects on self-esteem, self-concept, and self-image. So I'm going to do something for the babies. That's non-political. Non-political. You understand? But cultural, historical, and psychological, we can't leave those children out. Maybe even a one-week camp or something we can do for them. Maybe we can go out of the city up somewhere for a retreat for the children. And maybe we need to do something like that ourselves and just have a detox session or something like that for the community. But I enjoyed it. Y'all got my contact. I also have some business cards. I'll be giving them out when I sign books and when I take pictures as well. Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Dr. Umar Johnson if you're on Twitter and Instagram. And Facebook is Dr. Umar E52. Ashe.
All right, and really
wait, hold on just a minute, sorry. I just want to officially, introduce my magazine that I do publish here in China. It's called Opopo Magazine, One People, One Purpose. I don't know if it's reached Shanghai yet, but I implore you all to follow it. Opopo is all about empowerment, motivation, support, uplifting our community. With all the negative images that we can see on a daily basis about us, this magazine is there to counter all of that. So again, follow us. You can follow us on WeChat, Opopo Magazine, and that's great. And then just right now, I think all of you, all of you have given a business card. And so what I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna pick one out, and whoever this is gonna have the Dr. Umar package. It's a Pan-African flag straight from Ghana.
Not from Ghana.
Oh, where is it from?
From Garvey headquarters.
There you go.
In USA, not made in China, made by Garvey.
There you go. So there's a flag, a DVD. This one is The Solution Lies in Our Youth. If you don't like this one, there are other choices. As well as his book. It is the Psychoacademic Holocaust, the Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys. So you can, if you don't win, you can, oh, you did put your card in here? I didn't. All right, hurry up. If you don't win the lucky draw, you can purchase this set. The flag is $75, the DVD is $75, the book is $150, but the set of all three is $200. So you can get that. And our winner is, drum roll, Kristen Stanley. All right, well, Heights, would you care to come up?
Yeah, sure. Just a few minutes to talk, and I'm Judah of Heights Consult, and what we do here is that we help the community, those who want to have a setup of a business here. We give you all the assistance you need, and the services that you might need here, you just get in touch with me. I'll be here after we're done for maybe like 20 minutes. You can talk to me, and then we get it off from there. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is David Spence and from Montreal, Canada. I've got about a minute, so I'm going to make it really quick. We have a project called Be Greeny Mtega, that means make the earth green, and take garbage and literally transform it into 5 different products, including fertilizer, compost, animal feed, fish feed, and biofuels. We've created an entire system that we're offering to governments in order to solve their waste management problems that they have right now, and take something that's worth absolutely nothing right now, which is food waste. It's being put into landfills at a rate of 1.5 trillion kilograms a year. In the year 2025, that will be up to 2.1 trillion kilograms of garbage polluting this earth. With our system, we can change that. And we want you to help us to change that. So we have a very special offer where we're looking for members. As we share this system with the world, we want to share that revenue with you. We have 1% of our future revenue for every single one of our sales that go out. It will be available to our members. There's 5,110 spaces. That's it. We've already sold several memberships since February. This technology has been in research and development for the past 10 years. This business plan has been in operation for the past 2 years. We're past our planning phase. We already do business with Shenzhen governments. We're looking at doing business with more governments across China. We are invited to China next month to speak, Africa, to speak to several governments about our project and how we can help them. We're going to produce jobs. We're going to reduce pollution. We're going to give people an opportunity to take something that's literally garbage and turn it into gold. We're going to take waste and turn it into wealth. We need your help, and I look forward to meeting many of you and discussing how we can do this together. Thank you for your time.
All right, and last, if you know someone with a black child down here, 2 black parents, 1 black parent, does not matter. If you know someone with a black child down here, we're trying to get them organized. We already got a WeChat group up and going. The purpose is not to chit-chat. We already have parents in there. The purpose is to exchange resources. So the parents that got a 10-year-old with books they no longer read, we're putting them in contact with people that got a 6-year-old that might need some books, old clothes they don't wear. We're going to exchange that in the group. Strollers, toys, all that. Once we gather enough children, we're going to see about starting a half-day Saturday program. So my WeChat is Malcolm was right? Malcolm was right. There on the wall, add me, right? If you know a black parent with a child, put me in contact with me. So my WeChat is there. Malcolm was right.
So thank you to all, these are our vendors, the ones who just got up and spoke, so we really thank you for your contribution, and we hope that everybody takes the time to look at and listen to their pitch and their products, and to see if you could be of some assistance to these two gentlemen here. All right, just before we close, I'm sure most of you know that Dr. Umar is headed to Beijing. We'll be leaving in the morning, and we need your support to help get the word out. Tell your friends who may be in Beijing or maybe elsewhere about the experience you had. There's a flyer that's been circulating on WeChat. I'm sure that's how you came here. So please, please share the flyer on your moments. If you're on WeChat, share it however you can to tell the word. Spread the word so that other people in Beijing can join as well and experience Dr. Umar live and in person.
That's splendid. You know, I just wanted to just say something quickly about you two ladies. I had no idea you just met recently because I had a chance to work with them over the last week or so. And, you know, I assumed you all knew each other for a very long time. It goes to show you some of the power of sisterhood here and this collectivism that Dr. Johnson was talking about and oneness of purpose. You certainly exemplify that. So I want to recognize you both for that. Two outstanding black women. With that, I'd like to, please, you don't have to leave. Stay up here, please, please. Certainly adding to the beauty of the stage. I just wanted to end with saying, you know, every generation has its voices. The characteristic discussions, the prevailing thoughts, the response to everyday events. And they're the people, and, you know, and I would say those people also represent, there are people who represent that voice. You know, I was born at the tail end of the baby boomers. I'm trying to think, Frazier probably left already, but he and I are the two oldest guys in here. Where are you? Oh, there he is, okay. And the voices of our generation, Dr. Johnson, were Jesse Jackson and Michael Eric Dyson, whom was a Detroiter, as a matter of fact. Okay, anyway, he's from my neighborhood. But Angela Davis, those were the ones that, I don't know, I took a lot from when I was a young man and a young kid. But moreover, what I found them as is they were probably voices of what you call social equality. I think each generation has these people whom are select, I think, that have charisma and celebrity and courage to tell their story and answer the tough questions and sometimes handle the controversial messages. You know, you're certainly one of those persons for this generation and this time. I see you as in that category, that class that challenges us to reach higher, to strive more. Think about the position we are in. You're not looking for us to agree, you're looking for us to think. And I really appreciate that in you. So you're one of what I would call voices of this generation. And I hear you. And we've had a chance to hear you. And your voice is one that challenges and inspires, ignites and gives pause. And with that, I just want to say thank you on behalf of everyone that's here in this audience, that participated today. We are very grateful to have you here. And I'm certainly looking forward to having a few moments with you. I know you got to get to Beijing in the morning, you got to get some rest. But again, everyone that's in this room is certainly grateful for you, wishing you safe passage, good travels, and traveling mercies. So we bless you and thank you for blessing us. And with that, everyone, can we please recognize Dr. Johnson one more time?